moldy manuals. I realized I've been telling people if they have mold or if they find mold on any of their manuals or cover arts or anything, that they can get some vinegar, do a 50-50 vinegar and water mixture, dot it onto the spots of mold, put it out into the sun. That'll kill it up, no problem. I realized something, however. What if you live in an area of the world that either doesn't have sun for long periods of time or is just cloudy? What are you gonna do? Well, one of the things that I do when I get moldy items, and I probably should have explained it before, but also it requires a tool that's a little on the dangerous side. I'll make a video showing people how to use the vinegar and water mix and how to dot it on. I actually have a fantastic item that's really cool and really rare that I did a cleaning on, and I'll show you guys that one and putting it out in the sun and everything. I'll walk you through all the steps of that. But let's say you want a fancy tool for it. Of course you do. I, of course, am not necessarily going to do the vinegar and water mix on every single item. If I know that it's mold and I know that I have to just kill the mold, clean up the item, and keep going. It's also been super cloudy here lately, cloudy and rainy and snowy and, wintry. Sometimes you get fancy, unnecessary tools from the internet. So this is a UVC cleaning wand. This is literally, I only got this because it was one of the cheapest ones that Amazon had, but it was also one of the ones that I knew actually did what it claimed to do, and also because it has USB-C. Why not? So this is a cleaning wand. These came out a whole bunch during the pandemic and a lot more afterwards. They emit UVC light. So there's a couple of different kinds of UV light that you can get. There's an A and a B and a C. And the C is the one that you really want that cleans all things. However, as you'll notice on the warning right there, do not expose your skin and eyes to the UVC light. That should say, or eyes, but hey, whatever, import things. Very true though, that the light that this emits can damage both your skin and can damage your eyes. So you want to be careful with it. Let me show you. Lights off. Okay. The light that it emits, see that blue light on the old glove? That's UVC light, okay? I'm going to show you how we do it on two different items, but this is definitely one where you want to be careful. You don't even want to point it at gloves necessarily like I did. You don't want to point it at your eyes, and you want to make sure, light's coming back on, that you get a decent one that you know people use, has some good ratings, isn't going to not work. The big trick to tell if it's a good quality one or not, one, they're going to be a little expensive. So they're going to be about $40 to $60 American dollars. And they're going to, you want to look for a lot of good ratings. The other thing you want to look for is if someone shows a picture of it. Because I know the ratings aren't always, there's like, 50,000 5-star ratings. You want to see if anyone posts a picture of it. If they post a picture of it, and you can see that it's emitting that sort of a gray-blue light, then you know that you're in business. Let me show you what you don't want. Light's going back off. This is a black light. This is also UV light. This is just not UVC light. This is just UV light, and you shine it around, and you can hunt for scorpions, or you can look at really cool black lights. You can check for cat pee. You can do all kinds of stuff with this kind of a light, but this kind of a light is not necessarily what you want. The camera's probably not going to pick it up as well, but it's more of a purple light. I know you guys know these lights really well. They're really common. They'll always look like that on the end too. These will be known as like UV search flashlights and stuff. Different from a UVC cleaning wand. Okay, light's coming back on. So, once you get one of these, you want to read the instructions because a lot of them are going to be on a timer for how long they can run. And what that just means is how long the actual cell inside of there, the light emitting function in there can run before it starts to overheat, before it starts to cause any damage or anything. So it's really going to depend. You want to know exactly how yours works. Yours might be different from mine. Yours might look different from mine. I've seen stands. I've seen the handheld ones. I've seen little small ones, that kind of thing. They're also going to have a little bit of weight to them because it's going to have a battery in there to power UVC. So we got two things. I'm going to show you how we do them on these two different things. On the left here, we have D. For the PlayStation 1, the long box, we know that this one has mold, okay? We know that this one has mold. That right there, all day long. Moldy, moldy, mold. We know that. We don't even have to question it or anything. If you want to see it up close and personal, we can do that too. But we know it. We already know. See that? You see the star bursting pattern. We know that we have mold. We bought it like this, so we're not too shocked. Got mold on there. Okay, and again, I have the fan going on the one side. I have the air purifier going on the other side. I have proper ventilation. I have gloves on. You can see the mold on here too. A lot of mold on here. Realistically, okay, this manual is a loss, okay? Because we have a lot of mold. You see that? So we have just a lot of mold. That's okay. We knew that's what we were getting into. So I'll show you how we clean this one using the UVC light. Here we have Kingsfield 2. I bought so many of these manuals because I bought the game and it didn't have the back art, and I bought it loose to get I just did such a mess. As we go through here, you'll notice we're not seeing any spots, okay? Now this went through a clean, and you can tell because there's a lot of little white powder on here. See how that all disappears and goes away? And I know this because I did the clean on here. This one smelled terrible. So this sat in a couple of different powders. You see that right there? This one sat in a couple of different powders for a very long time. And it came out, and you can hear it. Actually, since we're gonna clean everybody. So see that powder, camera might not pick it up. But so this sat in a couple of different powders for a while just to get rid of the smell. We got rid of the smell. I noticed that there was some, just a little bit of rusting happening on the staples. See if I can find it. There's a little bit of rusting happening on the staples there. I have the suspicion that there is some mold here. Okay, just the paper is wrinkly. I can't see anything necessarily. It would kind of show up on here, but I don't know, okay? If you suspect, if you get something and it smells, as I throw it off the screen, if you get something and it just smells, this doesn't smell as much anymore. It did, and I did the powder cleaning and everything, but it realistically should probably have some mold on it. Do yourself a favor and just do a cleaning on it. Whether it's the vinegar and water mix, leaving it outside, the vinegar and the water mix and the brushing and everything, or using a UVC wand, either way, just make the effort anyway. Just go through it and clean it off and everything so that you know, okay, good enough. I'm not gonna show you the full cleaning of this one because what I would do is go through every single page and do the same method that I'm about to show you anyway, but you'll get the idea. Also, I don't think the battery will let me run it long enough. So, got a good spot right there, right on her chin, poor little lady. A lot of spots down along the side. You can see the T for teen, how that's all spotted up, okay? This is moldy. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna turn out the lights so you can see the passage of the UVC light and you can kind of understand what's going on. Safety rules, as always, you want good ventilation if you're working with anything that has mold on it. You want to keep it away from any other items. Mold literally will jump from one manual to another. There is a guy online right now who sold a couple of games and they had mold on them. And I said, hey, your games have mold on them. You want to check the rest of your collection? He checked the rest of his collection. He has a mold problem. Mold jumps, mold travels, mold checks on its neighbors, that kind of thing. So gloves, good ventilation, a mask preferably. If this was darker in color, if I was doing the brushing, all I'm doing right now is the initial cleaning. If I was actually removing that mold, getting out the brushes and removing that mold, definitely have a mask on. It's always better just to be extra precautious than you need to be, that kind of thing. All we're going to be doing now is going through and killing the mold. Later on, we can go through and we can brush it all up. I won't do that for this video. The other video's way more interesting for it. Lights are going to go off. Let's go. I actually have a whole lot more lights on here than I always realize. So, you can see that blue light's running. That means that it's going. The instructions are going to be different for each cleaning wand that you have. For the most part, they're going to say leave them on an area for 30 seconds at a time, moving slowly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a lot quicker than I would normally. You can see that light on there. I'm going to go through a lot quicker than I would normally, but you get the idea of what it is that we're trying to do. And so you're wanding it over all the surface. As we're doing this, moving slowly, let me show you the difference between the two lights. So you see how this is a very bright, kind of purplish hue, and this light on here is a very, it literally is, if you get one that is actually UVC light, it looks like a gray light bulb. And it's crazy, but that's how you know, oh, I actually got a UVC one. It's because it has a gray light to it. It's kind of wild. I'm not going to turn it around because then I would see it, but you know, you can see, you can really just kind of see how it's a gray light on top of everything. You don't want to shine it in your eyes. You don't want to shine it on your skin. You want to be very careful on all things, and you want to make sure that you're storing it in a safe place so that no one else can use it. I will make a link for this one. I'm actually really happy with this one. I want to say it was 40. It might have been 50. But I am really happy with this one. The problem is, I don't know if we're necessarily going to see, after we're all said and done, I don't know if we're going to be able to see any changes with the mold. But a lot of this is just, you have to do it a couple times and, you know that it is clean, that sort of thing. Nice ones have a timer, so you'll know how long you're going. So once this hits 8, I'll know that I've been doing this for at least 2 minutes on this cover. So there you go. So we'll go to the next page. This page has it down here. It says a minimum of 30 seconds. I'll basically go 1 full minute, mostly just because it doesn't have a 30-second timer. I could set a timer, but easy enough this way. And you want to keep it moving. It can change the color of things. It can fade some things. This is like we're sitting out in the sun and it's in direct sun for a very long time. It can do that. In this application, it really won't. If you left it on there for 10-15 minutes, it would start to fade it. But all it's really doing right now is just cleaning off. Not cleaning off. No. It's killing all of the mold that's on there. So it's sanitizing the complete surface. It's not removing the spores. So I'll shine it on these little spots down here, and you can see, kind of see those little spots shining up and everything. So that's 1 minute there. So it's shining, or it's, I don't see anything on here, but I'm still going to do 1 full minute on here too, just because. Always keep it moving. It's killing the mold. It's rendering it inert. It's not removing the spores or anything. Removing the spores is a whole separate thing, but this is basically killing it off to make sure it's not going to grow anymore. And this should always be your first step when you run into anything that is mold based. I made the mistake in my first video talking about mold where I said everything is a wreck. And really that needs to be a decision that's made by the person that owns the item. If they want to keep the item knowing that it is moldy, if they want to keep the item and say, hey, I know the item's moldy, but it's important to me, I want to keep it, I want to kill the mold and everything, then absolutely I will show you guys how to kill off the mold and how to make it so that you can keep the item. So we're just going nice and slow over the surface. Not rushing or anything. Keeping it at a distance. This is the distance that this one told me to use. Again, it's just very important for you to read the instructions very specifically, and read them very carefully, I should say, because it's really going to depend on the device of how close or how far away you need to use it. This always just kind of reminds me of Clorox wipes. I don't know why I blanked on there. Clorox wipes. Clorox wipes actually have 3 different things that you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to disinfect, sanitize, or clean, it has different steps for each of those and different steps that you need to take depending on which of those you're trying to accomplish. So the next time you got your can of Clorox wipes out, look at it and you'll see that it's different steps, and you have to leave. Sometimes you leave it wet for a while, sometimes you leave it wet and then you wipe it off, and sometimes you just wipe it off. It really depends. So look at the container and really read those instructions, because same thing on a UVC lamp or a UVC cleaning wand like this. Which actually raises a good question. Why don't I get a UVC lamp? It's easier to have the tool. I can take it with me. I can throw it in a bag. If someone's like, hey, I have mold, I can move around with it a little bit more. It's rechargeable. I don't have to have a separate light source for it and everything. There's just a lot of different dangers of it and everything. So we're just going nice and slow over all the areas. I might run out of time. I might not. Nice and slow. Also, were we supposed to get a re-release of this? What happened to that? I love this game. Puzzle games and FMVs. I swear, puzzle games and FMVs from this time period, late 90s, early 2000s, were my jam. I was a Myst kid. 110% I was a Myst kid. Myst, Riven, Myst 3. But then the weird ones, the Adventure Company, all the stuff that they made. Schism, Trader's Gate, oh my goodness. All that stuff. I don't know why I liked all that stuff, but I did. Probably because back in the day, I had game consoles and I didn't have a gaming computer. And so Myst and things like that could run on janky Windows 98 computers like I had. All right. Might run out of time. Let's see. So yeah, like I said, even if you don't see mold on there, okay, even if you don't see the little spots or spores or anything, still make an effort to clean off the surfaces, and still make an effort to get 120% of enjoyment out of PlayStation D. Make the room dark as possible by drawing the curtains and turning off the lights. Turn up the TV or audio volume. If playing in the middle of the night, be sure to wear headphones so you do not disturb people around you. Can you solve all the riddles before the door to the other world closes? Manuals. Manuals, when they used to be, and that's the problem, is that a lot of these manuals, they don't make manuals anymore, and a lot of these are getting moldy. People don't know them, they get it, and they go, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So the note sides, blank, we're still gonna do those. Got some, see if that's coming up. I can't really see it, but there's 3 real big spots right there. 2 spots there, 1 spot there. So we'll get all these real well. Just clean all this off. Not clean it off. I keep saying clean it off. Not clean it off. We will kill off the mold. Got a spot right down there. We'll kill off the mold, and then removing the spores later as much as we can. But again, spore removal is a tough thing. It's stained the paper. It is very much stained the paper. So trying to undo that staining is fairly difficult. But there's some ways around it. I've seen some people even suggest painting, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it'll work. So this is, I don't know if the camera will show it. Yeah, this is completely covered. Completely covered. So we'll just get a good soak on here. all the way up and down here on the corners too, and it's down here as well. So once you do this, you can actually start to smell it a little bit. It has an interesting odor. I don't really know how to describe it. It's interesting. Real quick, I want to check the back. Back looks good. I want to focus more on this. Again, just be careful with these. They sell them on Amazon. They sell a lot of stuff on Amazon and eBay and everything else that just means it's done its little time thing. They sell a lot of things. Lights come back on. They sell a lot of things on the internet that are actually pretty dangerous. So just be careful with those. So you see all that sporing. See all that on there? So that's an issue. But we went through and we cleaned it. I'll probably do another round of this later on, but not right now. So for now, same rules apply with this one. We would basically do what we did before, just go over it really carefully. It's probably, it's got its cooldown. Yeah, it'll let me do 5, 10, and 15, which is good. So it's on. Same thing as before, you're just gonna go real nice and slow over the surface. Gotta turn my lights off. Real nice and slow over the surface. And then one of the things that I do, so we'll pretend like we went all the way through this. I'll spare you guys the boring details. One of the things I do is once I'm done, I go through my entire work surface and I just go up and down the entire work surface with this at the same distance and for the same amount of time in the different spots that the actual manufacturer recommends. I'll link this one. There's a couple of different ones out there that were kind of neat though. I wish this worked where you're just like, it's clean. I'm clean now. This is clean. It doesn't work like that. So you do have to go fairly slow over it. So I always go fairly slow over everything. It doesn't create any heat necessarily, but still just be careful. So that's basically one of the ways that you can kill off some of the mold. The next thing that we would do, and like I said, it'll be a lot more in the video, but the next thing that we do is we're gonna take our brushes and let me go to the page with all the mold. We're gonna take our brushes and we're gonna brush fairly aggressively against all of the spores. One of the things that we can do absolutely is do the mixture of the vinegar and the water, dab it on each of these, and then give it a really aggressive scrub. This is probably already stained. So when I go through and I do the full cleaning of this with the mask on and everything, I'll come back and I'll show you guys pictures of what this looks like even with the staining. These little dots in the center, we can more than likely get rid of, but the entire staining itself is just gonna be there. That's just nature of the beast. So the big thing is that we are at least stopping the mold from getting any worse. That's the big thing. And I know before that I have said that 50-50 vinegar and water, and I put it on Q-tips and then I'll dab it onto the spots. That'll break down the actual outer coating of the mold to allow UV light to penetrate it. So you dab it on the mold, the shell of the mold will break down, you put it out into the sun, that sun penetrates into the mold and it kills off the mold. That's basically a very broad generalization of how it works. With UVC cleaning wands, what it does is it basically blows straight through the shell to the inside of the mold itself, rendering it inert. But that's the thing, is that you kill it off and it still can technically be brought back to life. So you have to remove as much of the sporing as possible. Mold's crazy. I'm planning at some point to do an entire overview on it. You can have mold in space. Like you can have mold in outer space. Like you can be outside of a space station, you can have mold. But it's crazy. But then like the radiation and the sun is going to, it's nonsense. There's so much to mold, and it's so interesting, and there's a lot to it. In the meantime, before I go on and on about all kinds of nonsense, mold cleaning with a cleaning and sanitizing wand. Again, be very careful if you do get one of these. That's why you haven't seen me use too much mold cleaning stuff lately, because I just use the wand and then I go through and I scrape everything. It's a little bit faster that way. But that's how you do it. Link below for all those things. Again, another example of things you need to look out for. Check your games regularly. You know, manuals like this are difficult to see mold in because it's a dark color, it's dark seams, it's dark on the inside. Manuals like this are fairly easy, but you'll notice where most of the mold is. So the mold is going to be close to the edges, okay? The mold is a lot of times going to be close to the seams. And it's rare that you would have mold like smack dab in the middle here, but you'll notice that you have mold on mold right here from this seam because it's sandwiched in. It can grow in this nice tight little pocket. Inspect your games, check them out. We're in the wintertime right here, but we had like 0-degree weather for an entire week, and then it turned to like 50-degree weather, and now we're back down to 30-degree weather. Check your stuff, check your humidity levels, check your temperature levels. Actually it's fairly neat, and I think I showed it before. I have one always sitting next to my workbench. This is a ThermPro. It's Bluetooth, but it shows temperature and it shows humidity, and this is probably all off because I've been moving this around a little bit, but it's Bluetooth, so you can track it, and it'll track temperatures for as long as the battery lasts. Basically, it can track it up to a couple of weeks, a year, just depends on the battery. And so I can open up my phone, which is recording this video right now, but I can open up my phone at any time and see what my temperature and humidity is and see what it ranges and what it tracks at. So these are fantastic. My gaming room is in a basement, which means that I can run this all the time, see what the temperatures and humidities turn into at night, and then adjust accordingly. I want to say this was $10. I'll link this below as well. Get a couple of these, put these around, check what your humidity is doing in the middle of the night. Don't want it too dry, don't want it too damp, and you want to keep your temperatures good. So like I said, just if you watch this video and you're like, oh yeah, I should check my games, just go check a couple of manuals. Check them and see real quick, just to make sure. Peace of mind for my sake and your sake, and it'll catch problems very quickly. If you do see any signs of mold, you open it up and there's a couple of dark spots or anything, hit me up in the comments below. Send me some pictures. We can talk. We can figure out some ways to fix that for you and maybe address either the game room, the storage situations, whatever it is. Until next time, thank you all for watching. I'm going to try to vary up all these different videos we're seeing so you guys also get a lot more of the maintenance content. Now you guys like that, but I appreciate everyone for watching. I've been talking so much it's raised 2 degrees and it's dropped 3% in humidity. Thank you for watching. Check your games, clean your games, and as always, if you have any questions, problems, issues, anything that you run into, hit me up on any of the social medias, Restore and Replay. Hit me up on literally any of the gaming things, Steam, Xbox, Discord, any of those things, Eldoug, E-L-D-O-U-G. Always more than happy to help, because that's way more interesting than me sitting here wanding a bunch of mold. Until next time, thanks guys. I'm going to keep cleaning.